Hi, Ben. A question from Ash on behalf of a lot of parents out there. How do you best start saving for, particularly when your partner is transitioning from working full time into going on parental leave? What is the best way to prepare for this? And are there any tips or tricks in terms of making sure there is enough cash flow while you drop from two incomes down to one? Thanks so much.
Great question here. And look, saving for children's costs and mat leave is a tricky thing, particularly at the moment with the ultra high cost of living. But there's basically two parts to this that you need to nail. The first is making sure that you've got the funds for any upfront expenses that you want or need to incur as part of actually having a child. As estimated at $5,000 to $10,000 between medical costs, costs of equipment, and other incidental type costs. Now, obviously, depending on how much work you're prepared to put in, your level of frugality, you can sort of flex that either way. But yeah, there is a chunk of change that needs to be provided for. Now, one of the great tools that I like to use for something like this is Money Smart, which is a website run by the government. They have a goal saver calculator that you can use, and you can literally just put in how much money you want to have saved and what time period you want to have it saved in, and it will tell you exactly how much you need to save every week or month or whatever frequency works best for you in order to get there by the time that you want. So that using that and then fitting that back into your regular budget will ensure that you've got the money there. In a lot of cases, it's going to require you to prioritize to figure out, what's most important there so that you can make the savings possible, but that will help you to get there. Then the second part, which is probably the more complicated part, is what you do post actually having a child around maternity leave, potentially looking at if you've got paid leave or the government leave or no leave potentially, how that all fits together. And look, with this, there are a lot of different tools out there, but I like to go a little bit old school and put it all into a spreadsheet. I've actually got the one that we use here, which I've shared, where you basically just put in how much money you've got in the bank. I'll just make this a little bit bigger. How much money you've got in the bank, and then the different types of costs. So you need to firstly have a solid handle on your actual budget and regular savings, but looking at post maternity leave, how does your regular savings actually change on a month to month basis? Then you can look at, do you have paid maternity leave? Do you have government paid parental leave? Is there any part-time work here? And then you can also put in your medical costs. So in this example, we've got a starting balance of $10,000. Regular savings, assuming no work from mum, is negative $800 per month. Then we've got government paid parental leave, which kicks in some medical costs and one-off costs around baby gear and the initial equipment that's needed. And then you just start projecting these things over into the future. So each month, savings going backwards a little bit, but we've got the government leave topping that up. How does that work? Then the government leave stops. What happens there? We've got some paid leave from work that lasts for a period of 3 months. Then we've got unpaid leave. And all the while you can see how your savings balance is tracking. And the aim here is to make sure that it stays above zero. And again, you can sort of change these numbers around to look at the impact of different scenarios, ensuring that you end up in a plan that you're happy with. The fallback with this is referring back to the budget and looking at different periods, particularly if your cash flow is tight or if you don't have the savings capacity that you want. You can then look at, okay, well, what is the very most important thing? How are we going to prioritize and end up with a plan that you're happy with? Now, the key here is that the sooner you start planning with this, the easier it's going to be. Because if you wait until the month before you go on to maternity leave, it's going to be really limited what you can do. Whereas if you start 2 years before or even longer, if you can plan that far ahead, and I know that you can't always do that, but the longer you do have to plan, the less you're going to have to save or the less you're going to have to adjust every week or month moving forward to get to the outcome that you want. Ultimately comes down to prioritization. Not an easy thing to do, but obviously the magic of having kids, it's the juice is worth the squeeze. Or so I'm told. I'll tell you in about 15 years.